It's a shame, really. Some people just have the vision and some just have the technical skill. We know which one you were. Zane's voice was smooth, amplified just enough to fill the hotel ballroom, the words landing like polite polished stones. I watched the light catch the cobalt blue statuette in his hand, a solid block of glass representing the Innovator of the Year award. The microphone gave a soft click as he shut it off, his expression a perfect mask of magnanimous pity. The applause was thunderous. I kept my own expression neutral, waiting for him to return to our table. When he did, beaming, I raised my glass of water. We certainly do. Our partnership began, like so many, with cheap coffee and a shared delusion of grandeur in a university library. I was the coder, the one who could make things work. Zane was the designer, the one who could make things beautiful and, more importantly, make people believe in them. I met him during a 24-hour hackathon. I'd built a functional, ugly app, and he designed a stunning user interface for an app that didn't exist. We combined forces. That first night, watching my code bring his design to life on screen at 3 in the morning felt like magic. That was the good memory. The first red flag came a month later, when a campus tech blog wrote about our project and quoted Zane, singular. He'd laughed it off, clapping my shoulder. You know how reporters are, man, they just want one name for the headline. It was easier that way. I believed him. It was easier to believe him. The first 2 years were our golden period. We founded Helios Digital, leasing a sun-drenched loft in a renovated warehouse district. We landed the Starkwood account, a boutique hotel chain, then the Lumen app, a project that got us noticed on Behance. I remember late nights fueled by takeout from a Thai place down the street. The hum of my server, rack a constant companion, while Zane sketched on his Wacom tablet. He handled the clients and the finances. I handled the architecture and the execution. You do the wiring, I do the vision, he'd say. It's the perfect team. The cracks began as hairline fractures. A client payment was late, forcing us to delay a server upgrade. Then another. Zane would sigh, running a hand through his perfect hair, blaming the economy, blaming the client's accounting department. I started taking a reduced salary to help with cash flow. It's just temporary, he'd assure me. Once the Sterling contract comes through, we're golden. The discovery was an accident, a digital paper trail he never meant for me to see. A misdirected email intended for his personal accountant was sent to our shared company inbox by mistake. The subject line was Omni Creative Acquisition Portfolio. Attached was a deck and an invoice. Not for a company expense, but for a TAG Heuer watch, shipping to his personal address, paid from an account I'd never heard of. I spent that entire weekend locked in my apartment. I told Zane I had the flu. Using the login credentials he'd foolishly saved in a shared company keychain, I logged into our primary business bank account. Then I started pulling the threads. For 11 weeks I worked 2 jobs. By day, I was the technical partner at Helios. By night, I became a forensic investigator. With the help of a discreet accountant named Veronica I found on a referral, I uncovered the truth. It wasn't just a watch. Zane had set up a shell LLC. He was siphoning off a percentage of every major client payment, routing nearly $110,000 over 18 months. He was also shopping our joint intellectual property, my code, my frameworks, to Omni Creative, a massive agency that was planning to acquire him, and him alone, as a new creative director. The portfolio he sent them presented every Helios project as his solo work. I was a footnote, a hired gun, the technical skill he had once employed. The breaking point was that awards ceremony. He knew I'd be there, sitting at table 12. He'd insisted I come. Support the brand, he'd said. When he walked up to that podium holding that cobalt trophy, he didn't just accept an award. He delivered my eulogy. I have to thank my former partner, he said, his voice ringing with false sincerity. It's a tough lesson that sometimes, to truly fly, you have to shed the weights holding you down. True innovation requires singular focus, and I'm so grateful to have finally found mine. The room erupted in applause for the brave visionary. My blood went cold. The hurt I'd been nursing for weeks froze solid, turning into something clean and hard and clear, a plan. As he soaked in the adoration, he mentioned the genesis of our award-winning Lumen app, nostalgically recalling a brainstorm in late October. It was a tiny, insignificant detail, but I knew it was a lie. I had the Git commit history. I had finalized the core architecture on August 14th. And I had the geotagged Instagram photos to prove that on that specific day, Zane was sipping a mojito in Mykonos, 1,000 miles away from any visionary work. Veronica, my accountant, was a shark in a tailored suit. He's not just a thief, he's an arrogant one, she'd said, tapping a perfectly manicured nail on the stack of evidence I'd brought her. That's our leverage. Her retainer was $15,000, nearly everything I had left. The next 6 weeks were a blur of legal filings and encrypted communications. We compiled everything, 42 fraudulent transactions, the shell company's incorporation documents, emails from Zane to clients redirecting payments, the server logs with timestamps, and sworn affidavits from 2 of our ex-clients. I nearly got caught once. Zane walked into my office without knocking while I had an email from Veronica open. A system error notification popped up at that exact second, obscuring the screen. I cursed at my computer and he just laughed, none the wiser. Our masterstroke wasn't a lawsuit, not at first. It was a simple, formal letter. Veronica, on my behalf, contacted the legal department at Omni Creative. She didn't accuse Zane of anything. She simply submitted a notification of pre-existing intellectual property claim against the assets they were planning to acquire, citing the specific project names. It was a standard, boring corporate maneuver, and it worked perfectly. The acquisition was immediately frozen pending a resolution. Zane, furious but overconfident, agreed to a meeting to clear up this ridiculous misunderstanding. He walked right into the trap. We met in Omni Creative's boardroom, a sterile glass box overlooking the city. Zane sat across the long marble table, flanked by 2 stone-faced corporate lawyers. He was trying to look bored, annoyed. He started, his voice dripping with condescension. "Look, if this is about a severance package, I'm prepared to be generous. Can work out a number and you can go on your way. Zane, thank you for agreeing to meet to clarify our asset distribution," I began, my voice even. Veronica slid a single folder across the table. It contained the bank statements, the transfers, the shell company paperwork. As Zane's lawyer opened it, the color drained from Zane's face. He started to stammer something about creative accounting, about misunderstood expenses. He looked at me, his eyes pleading. "I built that company. The ideas, the vision, that was all me. You were just the coder, that was the cue." I nodded to Veronica. She plugged her laptop into the room's massive 8K display. A command line interface filled the screen, the Git commit history for the Lumen app. A second window popped up beside it, Zane's Instagram feed from the previous summer. My finger traced a line on the screen. "The Genesis Project. You said the core idea was born in October. The core architecture was committed by me, and me alone, on August 14th, while you were on this beach." Photo was of him, tanned and smiling, holding a drink against a backdrop of the Aegean Sea. The Omni Creative executive stared at the screen, then at Zane. Silence stretched across the room, thick and suffocating. His bravado crumbled into dust. He looked at me, a flicker of genuine shock in his eyes. "I was the technical skill," I said. "Remember, the fallout was immediate and catastrophic. The Omni Creative deal didn't just die, it died violently." Their lawyers advised Zane he was being investigated for fraudulent misrepresentation. Within 24 hours, the story was all over our industry's design blogs, painting him not as a visionary but as a con artist. We settled out of court. I received a wire transfer for $142,500, every stolen dollar, plus damages and my legal fees. I also got sole, undisputed ownership of every line of code, every design, every asset Helios Digital had ever produced. Zane was forced to declare personal bankruptcy. The last I saw of him, he was walking out of a low-grade marketing agency downtown, the kind we used to mock, carrying a tray of coffees for his new bosses. His shoulders were slumped. His vision, it seemed, had gotten smaller. I never relaunched Helios. I started something new, smaller, under my own name. I took a new apartment in a quieter part of the city, one with a small balcony where I could actually see the stars. My old clients came back, one by one. There's an earned calm that comes not from winning but from surviving. Last month, I gave a talk at my old university to a class of aspiring developers and designers. A student asked me about partnership, about finding the right balance of talent. "Some people have the vision and some have the technical skill," I told them. "My advice is to work every single day to become the person who has both." The applause wasn't thunderous, but it was warm and it was real.